Hello and welcome to ThePrint. This is Soumya Pillai with video journalist Devesh Singh. We all have at some point in our life wonder where life originates and how life began on Earth. Today we are here with Professor Sandeep Ameta, who's a professor at Ashoka University in Sonipat. And he's carrying out a very interesting research which might help us find answers to where life actually originated on Earth. So thank you for talking to us. I will be jumping right into the crux of our discussion today about what your experiment is about and what does it aim to achieve in terms of, the answering the question of where life originated.
Okay, thanks. The question about how life originated, it's bigger than how life originated on Earth, because we need to understand the basics of how what constitutes life and how it can start on any place of Earth. Because there have been contradicting theories whether life started on Earth or it came from somewhere else. A lot of possibilities are there. But irrespective of where it starts, it has to start with the right ingredients and right process. Now, I've been trying to address using RNA as an information molecule and RNA as a self-replicating entity, how it can lead to some properties which we can call alive. For example, I put them into compartments and ask if now there is a growth of compartment, and if there is a growth, then there is an information propagation. If information propagation is there, can it adapt? Can have some adaptive value to the system it is in. So most of my research is rotating around that. We are still far away from constructing a system which we can call as a minimalistic life. Not minimalistic means it is a chemical entity which you can call life or life-like. We have added a property of self-replication already, been studying them into some compartments. Now, compartment can be anything here. Compartment can be a small bubble. It can be two chemicals coming together forming an aggregate. What we need to bring and up-concentrate the molecules and to start some emergent property or have some interesting chemistry going around. With this, I'm going forward to construct whether I can see them growing in the laboratory conditions, and if yes, then how the information propagation. So now to come at a question of, because we are consulting about origin of life, what life needs in a I would say minimalistic way, a property of self-replication. It should be able to metabolize the raw material it gets. It should be able to grow and divide. And if this system is maintained in an open case, like for example in out of equilibrium, this we can call a minimum form of life. So we have to be careful, because life, what we understand even from the smallest microorganism virus, is far away from this. These are just bunch of chemicals coming together and behaving like life-like features. So even if that we achieve, we are really in the good way to address this question.
So you just spoke about how the purpose of your research is not just to find the origin of life in Earth, but life probably which could have been active in other planets as well. If you could just elaborate a little bit about, like you said, what is the definition of life that as you're treating in your research, and how do you plan on achieving the results that you look for?
Okay, so when I say that life anywhere apart on Earth and as well anywhere, is what I meant is about the process. We need to understand the process. Ingredients can be anything, because a lot has been debate, and the field focus was early on was which ingredients started. And there has been enormous progress. For example, from NASA and or ISRO side, they are finding out what type of chemicals could be synthesized in interstellar medium. So next step, after identifying these ingredients, next step will be how to put them together, the recipe. Recipe has to be right. And this recipe, if it is universal, it should be able to be applied on anywhere. It should not be only Earth-specific recipe. An Earth-specific might have the special condition in the environment where it is started, but similar if we have ingredients of self-replication, growth, division, and metabolism, it should be true for any place we call life. Okay, this is what I meant. For me, since trained as an RNA biochemist, I use RNA as a molecule of interest because it can store information we know from viruses, and it can catalyze reactions, which is a property been identified from 80s, that it has some catalytic property. Now, it gives an advantage because you don't need much from protein side, which are much complex and come out of a lot of big machinery out. A simple molecule of RNA can do both of the job. Then it should be able to it should be a step forward for us to start something you can call life. Being said that, a lot of people has used this as a model, and using this as a model, what we are missing is the next steps. Can we put them into a compartment and propagate information? And how reliable we can propagate information. Then after that, the next information will come, what information we are talking about. Where can we make it more complex molecules out of this RNA of this life, so that the life, we can go progressively toward more and more complex system to the first bacterial cell or first unicellular organism. So to start what life we see on Earth now.
So you just mentioned that, there has been a lot of interest around, researchers around the world to find out the origin of life, and a lot of work has also already been done world over. Is there a gap in this research that we are trying to fulfill, we are trying to fill through the research that you're conducting?
Yeah. So the gap is pretty wide and open, and everybody know about it. And there has been a dedicated effort from at least from last decade, really focused on this, filling this gap. The gap is that when people started to this exciting problem, like I said, ingredients were the most of the thing where we went ahead. That whether in the early Earth condition, some molecules which we see today can be synthesized. Whether it's all possible to synthesize this thing, so that we know the path. Okay. Whether we can have information molecules synthesized in such a condition. So this type of things were there. Metabolism studied on a separate regime. Then what is the compartment? People have studied lipid vesicles or phase separated droplets or even small rock pores as a compartment. All these things were studied in isolation. So then we all realized that there needs to be combined in a single entity to say something called life. So that gap, now people are focused on more on that, and they are applying from different approaches. So showing a compartment can grow and divide has been achieved, but then they lack the information molecule inside. So we need to put a right information molecule, and information molecule should be coupled to the growth and division, so that when the cell divides, the protocell divides, it carries the same information as mother has. So this gap we are trying to fill in both from theoretical perspective and biochemical perspective. My particular goal is to use here RNA I'm using and try to put them into a compartment. For me, the compartment now are phase separated droplets. It's just bunch of chemicals come together and form a nice spherical droplet. And then asking question, if now I have a self-replicating entity inside, can it grow? So this is the gap I am trying to fill.
Just wanted to also focus that, from a layman's perspective, what we understand the first form of life is a cell. Could the life be traced to, before a cell? Is that something that this research could probably tell us about?
Yeah, it's a tough one because we were discussing the earliest fossils we have is 3.5 billion years ago, and that's a unicellular organism, most likely some type of bacteria. But that's an advanced machinery in terms of what we're trying to do. It has already a lot of functionality already ingrained into it.
So what we know of the earliest form could just be already in the middle of the spectrum of life.
Yeah, because the Earth origins is 4.2, 4.5 billion years. So there is a gap of almost a billion year, and from interstellar dust to this, say, from a hot ball to coming to colder and having all the ingredients synthesized to come to a chemical system which can evolve. From there to coming to a bacterial cell is a process where the focus is now, because now we understand pretty well, I think, from all the experiment from last decades, we understand what type of ingredients can be possible or not possible. People have demonstrated self-replication in different molecules, in peptides, in lipids, in RNA, in DNA, and show that synthetically they are possible. Now is the time to combine, and I'm not the only one. Lot of people are trying and on different approach.
So some of your early work has also been around RNA enzymes and in vitro evolution. Basically, you've dedicated your entire life to this particular domain. Could you tell us a little bit about your early work and your findings, how it has helped you shape this experiment?
So I mean, not the entire life, only 2 decades and 1.5 decades. Lot of people have dedicated more time than I would ever dedicate to it. But my work was primarily focused on how RNA activity evolved from a random pool of sequences. In the spirit that early life or early metabolic activity would have been evolved like that. So then what you do a lab-based experiment and an adaptive evolution experiment in the lab, and try to select activity which you are looking for. This could be anything for polymerase activity, peptide bond formation activity. I focused on the peptide bond breaking activity. So that was my PhD work. I was focused on that. We were halfway through. Then most of my postdoc work was using the replicating property of RNA, or a group of RNA as a collective replication, to understand its dynamics. When I say dynamics in terms of, it's to understand what are the rules where such self-reproducing replicating networks form, and how they can then evolve or propagate, for example. So that was most of the work and my postdoctoral work. And using technologies like droplet microfluidics, single cell sequencing. And then my work at NCBS was focusing on putting them into compartment which are more probable, and understanding the self-replication property and trying to see if we find some emergent property out of it. So interestingly, while this was going on, we are also setting up and trying to do some experiment where we go even simpler in the sense that even flows can act as a compartment. I'm telling you that lipid vesicle, which we know, or lipid bilayer bag of this cell is like a bag of chemicals working in a harmony, right? So this bag, in earlier environment when nothing was there, even a simple flow in the water could have acted as a medium of selection transiently, even for few minutes and few hours or seconds. So we are trying to mimic such a thing in the lab, trying to construct such a thing in the lab, and trying to see if we can put our information molecule, can it retain information? Okay, so this has been my journey, and coming here, I'm trying to go more deeper into this protocell and see what are the regimes of protocell where I will be able to propagate the information more faithfully. If I want to evolve 2 molecules, do I know which condition under which they will be the best, which environmental condition they will be evolving best or having more differences between them? So current focus for the next 2 years will be this. Then I plan to construct devices where once I understand this differentiation, then I try to connect devices and understand this self-replication and growth property to see them by eyes whether they are growing in the size.
Sir, just wanted to understand what is the current status of the findings of the experiment, and what is the kind of timeline? I know it's difficult to pin it on a timeline, but what is the kind of progress that you've made? What is the kind of progress that you intend to make in the next few years? I mean, what is the kind of timeline that you have in mind for
So timeline,
this?
I think, as you said, it will be tough to say, but I think with the way we are finding more and more new chemical systems, people are clubbing together and trying to understand the growth and division property. I think in a couple of years, maybe we should be able to have a system where it can grow and divide, looking at the progress of the field. The tough task will be to couple it to self-replication property. Growth and division independently and replication independently, to couple that something is growing and something dividing as a function of its replication will be tough. I think, let's see, half a decade should be at least some initial result we should have.
Sir, since the research that you are doing currently, I mean, it has such a mass appeal and mass reach. I mean, once we start getting the initial findings of the experiments, do you think that will also form the basis for, progressive work around the field of, biology and...
Okay, so in India, we are, as compared to last few years, we are good in the sense that at least there are 2 or 3 labs who are focusing on similar problems. One lab I know who's 100% on this problem. Other labs also are showing some experiments. Then there is a big thrust from Indian Institute of Space and Technology and ISRO about forming a national work group and finding out what type of astrobiology one can think of, what type of experiment we can think in space to carry out, and this has been there. So, and we are also trying to put that into a pedagogy format so that we can teach students right from the beginning these concepts. And this is nothing new we are doing. I mean, if you see in US, there are dedicated institutes only for the origins. NASA has an astrobiology program from quite a while, and they have dedicated labs working on it, training people in this field. There are postdoctoral programs, PhD programs on that. Europe has programs on extreme environment, origins of life, and all these things. So we are trying to, put that into our in our curriculum. At least in Ashoka, we are planning to have 2 courses on that, and other institute also. ISRO Pune, I heard they had online course on that. So this type of things we are putting together, which to ingrain this idea right from the beginning will get the mass appeal, better outreach to the students as well as see. For example, what I heard is that why mass appeal and all this important, because what I heard, Netherlands few years back did an open survey with public that this is the taxpayer money where you want to spend. So topics which you can spend, and this has been told to me by my postdoctoral advisor that they chose origin of life as a second topic they want to spend money on. Though it's not related to disease or something, we are not solving a disease problem here, but the interest of mass is there. So in India also there is an interest of mass, but our priorities are different. But fields like this can run parallel slowly and create an impact.
So with this, I'm going to ask you the last question. I mean, it's going to be a little more general, but since you have been in the field for so many years, I mean, how have you seen the research scenario of India change? I mean, has it gotten better for researchers such as yourself? Do you also see that, among the younger generations, is there a better interest in the field of biology, say, molecular sciences? How do you see the field growing in the coming years?
So, as I said, that interest has been always there. I mean, each of us is excited about what happens outside, and each of us is wants to be astronomer at some point of time. Each of us likes aliens. Interest has been there. Now, to solve this problem is a tough path and it's a different way. It's not like when I start my lecture also, I said that or even talks, I say that I'm talking about origin of life, but I will not talk about aliens today, right? So not everything is about this. Yeah. So to solve this at the molecular level, we need dedicated education and dedicated efforts from students also. Now, do we have a pool for it? Not yet. But can we create? Yes, I am positive about it. We can create if the enough interest is there. We can create pool who are interested in such questions and dedicate their, PhD time and addressing some of the issues. So things are on the better side, that I can say. I'm pretty optimistic. I mean, I'm a positive person. So I from last 3 years, I've been discussing with people. Things look positive sides. What is will come as our efforts is that then the funding agency realized that we need to also put some efforts there to fund such research, basic fundamental research about these origins, which will help other people also join the topic and start their careers and build their careers like that. This is what happens, that we've been trained in such field, but what happens is that a lot of us then, due to our criteria of funding, we do additional research or some other research on the top of it. So things get diluted in that sense, but they are moving in the good direction, I would say.
Thank you, Professor Mehta, for speaking to me. Thank you for tuning into The Print. You were with me, Soumya Pillai, and video journalist Devesh Singh.